Hey guys, this is Nicole with Photography by Nicole Wagner, and today's tutorial, Photoshop tutorial, is going to be on how to really make those fall colors pop. I love fall, everybody loves the colors, changing season, they're amazing. So basically, I'm going to kind of show you how to take this kind of photo. This was a cell phone picture that I took on my Windows phone, and how to really draw those fall colors out and really make it a print-worthy photograph. So, well, that wasn't originally. I'll show you my original photo. My actual original photo was that. So, really, there's a big old transformation. But I was scouting some areas yesterday, and I just fell in love with this path right here. So, I really wanted to do something with it. But so I took the photograph and I took the photo, but I really hate how the sky looks. I really hate the washed out greens and the blue, just the fringe, and nothing's in focus up here. And I was just like, oh, I really hate that. It's very distracting. That's where my eye's drawn. So basically, I just filled it all in. And if you don't know how to do that, I will be more than happy to do a tutorial on it, or message me and I'll kind of try to talk you through it, and we'll go from there. So, but this is where we're going to start today, and I'm going to show you how to go from a picture like this with, you know, more greens and browns, and really draw the color out and make it pop. So, we're going to start out. I'm going to show you my way of doing things, which is a little bit backwards. In other words, things that I know, steps that I know I'm going to take in every photograph, I always put in first. So even if it's the final touch. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a vignette on. And I'm a big old fan of vignettes. So let's do that. So we're going to create a new layer above this one. Well, I'll retitle this photo. I'll call this the original, even though it's not. But this is our original starting point. So I'm going to create a new layer over top of it, which shortcut key is Control-Shift-N, and I call it a V, or you can go down here and click the new layer icon. So you can do that. Same thing. We do that. We're gonna open our marquee tool, our rectangular marquee tool, which is right over here. Again, I'm a fan of shortcuts, so it's quick key M. That's how I'll be doing all of mine in my tutorials, just so you know, because quick keys speed up your workflow exponentially. So it's wise to get in the habit of doing it now. And I should let you know that this is kind of a beginner / intermediate tutorial. It's not quite like you have to know your tools, and you kind of got to know how they work, but I'll still talk you through it. So you should be able to follow it as long as you're comfortable in Photoshop. So anyway, so to use the marquee tool, you also want a feathering tool, because we're going to put a vignette around it. And the vignettes, I don't know if you know this, but the vignette is the darker edges around. It's not quite a frame, but it's darker blend out edges of the colors around the edges of a photograph. Anyway, so we needed to feather out very slightly, very unnoticeably, but still there, so very effectively. So for this photo, we're going to use a 250 pixel vignette, a feather on our vignette. The bigger the photograph, the bigger, the higher number of feathers you need. The smaller the photograph, obviously the smaller the feathering that you're going to need. So if you're shooting in RAW or whatnot, it's always going to be 250, because they're just such large photos. So you're going to start at one corner of your picture, and you're just going to go diagonally to the other corner, and you're going to let it go. You're going to see it has your marching ants kind of give you a rounded corner feel. And what we have to do is, because right now if we fill in our vignette now, that dark color that we're going to add to the picture, it's going to fill it into the center of the picture, and that's not what we want. We want to put it on the corners of our picture. So what we have to do is we have to inverse our marching ants. Invert, I apologize, our marching ants. So we have to do Control-Shift-I, which will invert it, or you can go up to here, or you can go up to Select, and Inverse is right there. So there's that. And so go to your picture, we're going to right click, we're going to fill it. My vignettes are typically always black. These are the different ways you can fill it. Mine are always black unless I'm doing like a Christmas thing, or sometimes I use a red, or whatever the case is. So anyway, in this case I'm going with black. So fill it, and there we go. There, you see our darker edges and whatnot. Now to get rid of these marching ants, because otherwise going forward all our edits will happen within those sections of the screen of the picture. So going forward, we have to deselect them. So you can either go up to select and deselect, or what I like to do is Control D. That's how I get rid of it. So we're going to leave that the way it is for now. And maybe back it down a little bit to, we'll say 50-ish. You know, whatever, somewhere in the 50s. So that's where we're going to put it. That's probably where the vignette will stay. I usually have my vignettes between 45 and 60, so it usually falls in the 50%-ish range. Because you want it noticeable, but you don't want the attention to be drawn to it. But even just adding our vignette, you can see our eye being drawn to where we want it. I want it drawn to the middle of the screen, to the colors, to this path. I love this path. Right, so already it's less distracting. Like, you're not so much, oh, look at the trees, look at the colors. You're like, look at the center photograph, because that's where I, as a photographer, want you to look. So we're going to do that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to really bring out those colors is what we want. We really want, you don't really see any oranges or reds or anything, and I really want this path to be, I don't want it to be so brown and bland and yucky looking. I want it to be more vibrant, more inviting, more like, wow, that's a beautiful photograph. How'd you get those colors? So in order to do that, we have to add an adjustment layer right above our original photo. So we have to add an adjustment layer. We're going to add a hue and saturations adjustment layer. I know as a photographer, I want my oranges, I want my reds, I want my, my really fall colors. So we're going to go up to, we're not going to stick with Bester, we're going to go down to reds is what we're going to do. Now I got to find, what do I want red? I want this red. This little dropper right here will allow me to really isolate the red tones that I want. Like, I want that tone right there, I want to alter. Those are the colors I want to alter. So that, I'm going to go up to my little plus eyedropper, and I'm just going to select these other colors and a couple other areas that are different shades of the path. And what that's going to do is it's going to broaden the colors that I alter. It's going to make the colors that I alter wider. So, okay, so I got my color selected, and now we just sort of start playing with the slider tools, and we just sort of see where we want it to go. And you can already see, we've barely even done anything to the picture, and you can already see how much of an impact it's having. So we're just sort of gonna mess with it and play with it, and kind of see where we want it. Do we want more yellow? Do we want more oranges? Do we want more reds? How much red do we want? And this is kind of just the path I take, and depending on my mood for that day or what I saw while I was out there will determine the amount of colorizing I do, I guess you could say, amount of changes that I do. So, and if you don't like something, like if you're like, oh god, this is just awful, you can start over. Just make everything, bring it back to exactly where it was, and start over again. So, and I do that a lot in my work process. If I'm just sort of like, okay, well, what if I start with this? So maybe I'll start doing it that way, and then I'll go to my saturation. Maybe I'll change my hue first, and then go to my saturation. See, I like that a lot better already. And I don't want to go up, so I'll bring it back down. You know what? I don't want to change that at all, so I'll go to 0. So, I mean, we're doing it this way because this is the non-destructive way to do it. So, okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty satisfied, so we're just going to click back over. Okay, so now, so we can come back after we add other things and see how our sliders are still exactly where they were. So we can then still alter it later. So, alright, so now my thing, when I look at this photograph is, okay, well, it's cute, whatever, but I don't really see any light. I don't really see any shadows, any lights, any contrast, and, where is my eye supposed to be looking? So I'm going to add another layer above my hue and saturation layer. Again, that's Control-Shift-N. And I'm going to call this my highlights layer. And basically what I want to do is, because what I see, the focus of this picture should be this path. So what I see, this is where we should be drawing our eye. In order to do that, your eye is drawn to the lightest part of the picture. Right now, it's pretty much all the same brightness. So there's not really a lot of contrast. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do our brush tool, which is right over here, or Quick Key B, which is what I used. And I'm just sort of going to, oh yeah, okay, so I'm just going to sort of brush this all in, right, just like that. Now, I know that looks really bad, but what we're going to do is change our blending layer, or our blending. layer, and we're going to change it to an overlay. And see, that already looks a little bit better. So we're going to do that. Now, whoa, way blown out. We're going to come over here and bring our opacity down. Now we're just going to sort of blend it up until we see, okay, I kind of like that. I kind of like the brightness. There's a contrast in it. My eye now knows where it's supposed to look. So, because I am not a fan of using the eraser tool at all. It's very rare that you'll see me use the eraser tool. So I'm going to add a mask to my highlights layer is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to add a mask. And basically, you can see, like, watch when I turn back on, right on the grass, you can see where my highlight is. I don't want that. I want there to be a decent amount of contrast between my grass and my path. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my brush tool. I'm going to make sure I'm on a black, my top layer is on a black. And using my brackets tool, I'm going to bracket up and down as needed. And I'm going to mask out that highlight that's on the grass where I do not want that highlight. So I don't want it anywhere that touches the trees or the bushes. Okay? So that's what I want. So now it's exactly what I want. And now I can really, really start playing with my opacity because now it's only affecting the path. It's not really affecting the trees and the grass at all. So I really like it. And okay, so the only thing that I really want to change now, you know what, I'm gonna make this a little more rounded. I'm gonna just bring it up a little bit, just a little bit, just enough, so that my eye is drawn. There we go. Just enough so it's drawn like up the path as opposed to, and it kind of blends out, and you know, I just want to make sure my viewers are looking at what I want them to look at. You know, this is the beauty of Photoshop and the beauty of post-production and post-edit is that you can really show the world and your viewer the way you see things, because everybody sees things differently, and you can see the potential in something that maybe somebody that doesn't shoot or doesn't have that same perspective sees it differently, and it's amazing the different things you can come up with. So anyway, enough of my ranting. So there's that. Now the only last thing that I really want to add is I want to go up to I want to go above my we'll go above the highlights. We can always move it later. So we'll go above the highlights. I want to do a levels adjustment layer is what I want to do. And basically this is this can here just it affects the brightness and the darkness of it. So if something looks a little washed out, you might be able to save it. So if you want deeper blacks, you can do that way. So we'll do that. And we'll brighten our whites a little bit, so it kind of just adds that more contrasty poppy, like the darker blacks and the brighter whites, and it just adds for a more interesting picture, I think. So we'll do that. So that's what our levels adjustment did. Like, it definitely brought our colors and our trees out, and it just added that more HDR-ish look, which I am a huge fan of. I'm not going to lie. I'm a huge fan. So I'm just sort of going to play with this, and I like it better up here above our highlights. And one last thing, I'm just going to adjust our vignette a little bit just to see what I like, because the deeper my colors are, the more black and the more contrast between my black and white, the deeper I tend to put my vignettes. So I like deeper, darker colors, though. I'm not a very pastel-y type person, so my style tends to be tailored more toward the darker shades and colors, and it's just so much more interesting to me. I'm just going to play around a little bit more and see, now that we have all of our finishing touches on it, really, I just want to see if we do this, if we do... Alright, so I really like that. So what if we did this? What if we did... There. Alright, I really like that. So I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna change my opacity just a little bit. So I'm gonna bring it down to 75. And I think I'm gonna paint this into Just a little bit back here. There we go. Oh gosh, I really like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So now my eye goes exactly, your eye follows the trail. It goes exactly where you want it to go. And there we go. This is what I would consider a finished picture. So we went from this to this, and it's only been, what? A couple minutes. It's only been, what, 10, not even 10 minutes? I don't know. So, anyway, it's very rare. If you don't like the vibrance down here or whatnot, you can also do an adjustment layer, and you can do vibrance, and you can bring it down, and you can do more muted colors, or, there's just, the possibilities are just absolutely endless, and I'm not going to lie, that's one of my absolute favorite things about Photoshop. So, anyway, there's my tutorial, and go out, have fun, try to see the world in different creative ways, and don't just look at it as, this is what I see now, but look at it as in, like, what it can be. So, anyway, this is me, photography by Nicole Wagner. Check out my Facebook site, like it, and I'll have more tutorials coming up. Alright, thanks guys, have a good day.